I give my body full permission to flow and fluctuate exactly as she needs because I know she has a wisdom far beyond where my thinking mind can take me. As a woman, I've spent most of my life trying to make myself smaller, being fed narratives by society that I will only be accepted when I am a smaller version of myself. And yet, as I've grown older, I've come to find that the disposition of the universe is to be in a continual state of expansion. And I've come to find that I too am a part of this process. And so here is my story about how I've healed my relationship with my body and food after years of struggling with an eating disorder. I will also be guiding you through how I write a permission slip for my body to flow and fluctuate exactly as she needs so that you too can develop a better relationship with your body and honor them exactly where they are without judgment. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to strip down and get a little bit more vulnerable emotionally with you guys. I wanted to talk about my personal relationship with my body and with food and how I've healed it over the years after being diagnosed with an eating disorder at a really young age and going through bouts of treatment, all of those things, and how I've come into my body and wrote myself basically a permission slip to accept all of the changes as they come along and to love my body exactly as she is, no matter what phase she is in. And so I wanted to, just dive into that story with you guys and then talk to you guys about how you can write a personal permission slip for your own body to just honor them wherever they're at, because our bodies truly are just trying to keep us safe. Their number one job is to keep us safe and healthy, and that sometimes means fluctuations in weight, and that sometimes means fluctuations in how we look and how we feel, and just developing non-judgment, non-attachment to each phase of our body, each version of ourselves, and just knowing that we are exactly where we need to be in this moment to be the healthiest versions of ourselves. And if you're not, then that's okay, and learning how to love yourself better in the process is the approach that I take. So I wanted to start the video by talking to you guys about my experience with my eating disorder and how it came along. I was about 11 when I was diagnosed, so super duper young. I was always a super perfectionistic kid. I had really bad anxiety growing up, type A, and was just super high achieving. I struggled with change, and so when change came up in my life, a big change like my family potentially moving to another country, I took control through food. I didn't want to think about all of those scary feelings that were coming up of abandonment and leaving my hometown and leaving my friends and not knowing what life was going to look like, and so I numbed that. And the only way I knew how was through controlling food, because if I didn't have energy to do anything, I didn't have the energy to think and dwell on those thoughts. And so that's how my eating disorder kind of started. And I ended up going through first outpatient treatment, and I kind of put it on the back burner, and it was like fake recovered for a while, where I was eating enough but I was still over exercising, and I was eating only clean foods, very orthorexic, and at a certain point my BMI dropped really low. I don't really want to say numbers, but it was under 15, a lot lower than that, basically just like not okay. My first bout with like treatment was really just like pseudo again. Like I kind of faked recovery, and eventually my family moved across the state of California to NorCal, and I was developing a lot of changes in my body. Puberty was hitting, I was going into high school, all of these different changes, and I was, again, AP student. I was varsity cross country as a freshman, and it was all this pressure, and I felt really overwhelmed with all of the changes, and so I fell back into my eating disorder. And this was when my OCD got really bad. My hands were constantly cracked. I always was washing them. Everything had to be clean. My food had to be clean. Nobody could touch it. Only I could touch it. It was just like everything kept getting smaller and smaller, and I just got tunnel vision, and it just felt like I was controlling everything, but it felt really out of control. And my heart rate dropped to 33, and they could barely find my pulse. I had to do an EKG at one point, and They shipped me off to treatment, and I went to inpatient treatment, and it was a really life-altering experience because I definitely noticed that there was a lot of things I didn't agree with in the treatment realm, but it definitely did force me to release control to people because I physically couldn't control my food. I couldn't control anything. Everything was controlled for me. And so I was thrown into the unknown and I had to adapt. And that helped a lot. And after that, I was in lots of treatment when I got back out of it and I went home. And I just worked on developing a healthier relationship with my body and understanding that if I kept going down these routes, I wasn't going to be here anymore. I remember there was one moment when I was pulled into a room with my nutritionist, my therapist, my mom, and it was when I wasn't complying with treatment, and they basically sat me down and spelled it out for me. They basically said, if you continue down this route, you're not going to be here anymore. Your heart rate is super low. We don't know how you're continuing anymore, but you're not going to make it if you continue this way. And it was like the first moment when I saw my mom cry, and that was a really scary thing for me because for a lot of people, our parents are our rocks. We don't see them cry a lot. We don't see them express these deep emotions that often, and when they do, it can be really life-altering, and it was for me. Something clicked finally, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is much bigger than me, and I need to change because it's not just affecting me anymore, it's affecting my loved ones. They care about me, they want me to be healthy and happy, and so I just kind of had this big shift, and finally everything started to fall into place. If I continue down this route, I'll never get my period, and if I don't get my period, I'll never be a mom, and I've always wanted to be a mom. And also, if I don't fuel my body, I'll never be able to pour into my creative outlets. I'll never be able to write that poetry book I always dreamed about writing. I'll never be able to go to university and study the things that I'm passionate about. I'll never be able to travel the world and see all of these cool places that I wanted to. I'll never be able to climb mountains like my heart desires. And so I started to create these if-thens. If I continue down this route, then this will be taken away from me. And that's kind of how my permission slip to allow my body to fluctuate and change started. And so that's how I wanted to lead into the second half of this video, how I write a permission slip for my body and what that looks like and how you can do it too. So basically, I grab my journal, and in one of the first pages, or somewhere that you're going to look constantly, you can make a sheet and laminate it and hang it on your fridge or post it on your mirror in your bathroom, somewhere where you're always going to look at it. But basically, you're going to start and say, "Dear body, you're allowed to change." And what I start with after "Dear body, you're allowed to change" is an affirmation that goes along the lines of, "I trust that you have a wisdom far greater than what my thinking mind can understand. I know that you're only trying to keep me safe, healthy, and happy. I trust your intuition." And what I mean by that is that our thinking minds can put us into these boxes, can see other people and place judgments and compare ourselves. And instead of doing those things and allowing our minds to take control, we can tap back into our bodies and trust that she's just fluctuating to get us to a point where we can find hormone balance, where we can birth babies, where we can have a healthy cycle, where we can adapt to the stressors that we're experiencing in our lives. Our bodies are not meant to look the same every single day. They're not meant to be the same in each season of our lives. We go through changes for a reason, and all of these changes are divine and intuitive, and our bodies are only doing these things to help keep us safe. And so by writing this reminder in a permission slip for yourself, you can tap back into that and step out of your thinking mind and just reconnect with that intuition, which is so important, and it really does help me. And then after that, I write a list of when I feel insecure, and what I do is I write opposite actions. And so for whatever I typically feel insecure about, I write an opposite action or an opposite thought that is in opposition to whatever that insecurity is. And so what this looks like is I focus on function over aesthetic. We tend to dwell on how we look, and what I've come to find in my experience as a human is that it's less important about how we look and it's more important about how we feel, how we function. And so instead of dwelling on your thighs and thinking that they look large compared to your friends, or that they look large compared to how you used to look, or that now they have bumps where they didn't have bumps before, instead of dwelling on those things and dwelling on how they look, I like to put myself into a place where I celebrate what that body part does for me. So instead of saying, I hate how my thighs look in that photo, I'm gonna say, wow, I'm so glad that I have 2 healthy pairs of legs that carry me up mountains. They are so strong. And like really embody that. Really just find yourself feeling grateful. The power of gratitude is really transformative, and so when you're able to tap into that for your body, it can be really transformative for your relationship with it. And so I'll list a few other examples so that you can get an idea, but it's really important for you to write these for yourself and to really embody what that would look like for your own relationship with your body. And so I sometimes find myself feeling insecure about how my arm looks pressed up against my body. And so I will say, I'm really grateful for 2 arms that are super strong, that allow me to embrace family members and show them how much I love them. I'm really grateful for 2 arms that allow me to dig up soil and to plant food and harvest food that can nourish my body, nourish the land, and nourish my loved ones. Without these arms, I wouldn't be able to do all those things. When I find myself feeling insecure about my stomach and seeing rolls, I say thank you for protecting all my vital organs, for protecting my womb, for giving me the ability to create life, the potential to have a baby one day. When I find myself feeling insecure about smile lines or wrinkles on my face or sunspots, I say, wow, I feel extremely blessed to live in a body that has the capacity to express joy. Thank you, skin, for being evidence of all of the deep emotions that I felt in my lifetime. And so you can kind of get the idea there. Just pick something that you usually feel insecure about, that you find yourself dwelling on constantly, and make opposite actions. Truly find something to feel grateful about for that piece of your body. And when you change your perspective to celebrating your body rather than demonizing all of these different aesthetic properties, then you can truly find love for your body. And that's what's been true for me. And then on this permission slip, I also write facts to remember about my body, to just celebrate all of the cool things that it's doing. So my body changes over the course of the month. I'm going through hormonal fluctuations, and of course my body's going to look different. Just releasing the need to constantly be the same, to perform the same day in and day out, to look the same day in and day out. It's not realistic. Our bodies are changing so drastically. We're going through so many hormonal shifts. Our bodies are holding onto water to protect us. Our wombs are doubling in size at menstruation. Of course, our clothes are going to fit different. So writing that fact, my uterus is constantly expanding and contracting. I'm supposed to look different. It's natural for my clothes to fit different each week. And then also writing facts about how I'm not supposed to look the same as I did when I was 18 years old. I'm supposed to start looking like a woman. I'm supposed to be constantly growing and expanding, and yes, my body's going to change, and yes, that's okay. And so writing these facts and looking at them as facts rather than as something that you can control, just being like, yep, that's what my body's doing, and releasing it, can be really empowering and just like heartfelt. And then I also like to write the if-thens down. And so if I don't fuel my body and take care of her, I won't be able to be a mom, climb mountains, write a book, learn new things, play in the snow because I'd be too cold, like physically too cold to handle cold environments, travel to new places, be present with loved ones because I'd be dwelling on food too much, create art because I wouldn't have excess energy for creativity, grow my business. I wouldn't have excess energy to put into something outside of myself. Have a healthy cycle. It's so important. Our cycle dictates our ovulatory health, our immune system, our gut health, our mental health, our entire being. And so you wouldn't be able to have a healthy cycle. You would not be healthy. You would not be able to have new cultural experiences. And so find things that are important to you that you know will be taken away from you if you're not physically healthy and you're not fueling yourself and you're not your best, fullest, vibrant self. And so that can be really motivating when you do find yourself falling back into those habits, to have those things almost like, yeah, the permission slip. If you don't follow the guidelines for your highest self, then these things will be the punishment. It's just natural for your body to take these things away from you and ask you and be like, come on, like, let's start taking care of ourselves so we can have these things again. We're not going to have these things if you're not taking care of us, and you're not going to be your highest self if you're not acting in your best interest. And so you have to treat yourself like a little kid sometimes and set these rules for yourself, set these permission slips, set these things up for yourself so that you can embody that highest version of yourself. And so I wanted to create this video to show you guys that you're not alone. Sometimes it can feel that way when you're going through heavy things like this, but it's okay to struggle with these things. It's not a reflection of who you are. You're not broken. We've all just been born into a broken system. We've all just been ingrained with these stories that are outside of ourselves, and so slowing down and reminding ourselves of who we are and our purposes here can be really validating. And so that's the whole purpose of this video, to share with you guys my own personal story. I'm so passionate about using food as medicine and connecting to our own unique bodies and our own unique cycles, and then in turn becoming the highest versions of ourselves that we can with all of this energy and vibrancy that we build through that. I also wanted to share with you guys a little tool that I use to celebrate my body and to remind myself how important it is to be taking care of myself to the depths of my being. And so with that, I wanted to say thank you guys so much for tuning in today and taking the time to celebrate your own body, because I know you clicked on this for a reason. And if you are struggling, please reach out to me. I have a lot of resources for you. Don't be afraid to ask for help from your friends and family, and know that therapy is a great resource for all of us. I think we could all benefit from having someone externally to support us through all of these things. Being a human is hard sometimes, and just know you're not alone. I love you, and I hope that this video helped bring you peace and helped make you feel supported, because you are so supported. The earth is always supporting you, and the universe is always rooting for you. I love you, and if you love this video, please come back next week, because we are going to be continuing on our cycle syncing journey and learning our unique bodies. And yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye.